Hello and welcome to Passing the Torch, an online Bible study with your host and teacher, Bob Clark. Yeah, that's me. Today is Lesson 11, specifically 11a, of Study 1 of a set of 8 studies that we're calling a Mosaic of Bible Prophecy, where we're going into end-time Bible prophecy, what you would call eschatology. All right? And we've been going through Study 1, which is an introduction to and summary of Bible prophecy. Today is lesson 11a, which is where we're going into Daniel chapter 9, Daniel's 70 weeks prophecy. 70 weeks, what is that about? Okay, we'll get into that here in a moment. I will tell you that I've already taught this whole thing once. I retaught it to try to make it shorter, and I lengthened it. So I'm coming back now, redoing the intros and the outros, whatever you want to call them, to break this up into 3 pieces because it's going to be a total of about 2 hours. So we're going to make it about 40-minute lessons. So lesson 11a, starting on Daniel chapter 9, specifically the last 4 verses. All right, so you know if you can see the chart, the outline we've been going through. So we taught an introduction to the whole series. We went through a background of how do you understand Bible prophecy, key timelines, and right now we're in the third one of those, which is Daniel chapter 9, the 70 weeks prophecy. And then after that we'll go into a summary of Bible prophecies. So let's introduce Daniel chapter 9. An introduction to Daniel first is a very brief, quick outline of Daniel. The first 6 chapters are historical narrative. All right, that's when Daniel and his friends get taken into captivity by King Nebuchadnezzar and his army. Daniel chapter 2 is Nebuchadnezzar's famous dream. You have Daniel chapter 3 is the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace. You have Daniel in the lion's den, and such as that. The last 6 chapters of Daniel, chapters 7 through 12, are prophecies that are given to Daniel. And he gives those to us in turn. So we'll wind up teaching throughout the entire book of Daniel in study, I believe it's going to be study 3, which is World Empires Through the Eyes of Daniel. So we'll teach the whole thing, including all of chapter 9. But today we're just going to take just those last 4 verses. In Daniel chapter 9, so a summary of the rest of it, is he's in a time of prayer. All right? And he's praying. He's been reading Bible prophecy and he's praying. And in the middle of that prayer, he gets interrupted by who other than the angel Gabriel, who shows up with a message from him from heaven. All right? And so in this, what he gives him is 4 verses, the last 4 verses of Daniel chapter 9, verses 24 through 27. And it's a prophecy, these 4 verses are a prophecy around which most Bible prophecy revolves. You cannot understand the book of Revelation without understanding those 4 verses. So that's the reason we're getting into this. In these 4 verses, it pinpoints the exact date that Jesus rode into Jerusalem on a donkey on Palm Sunday, or the triumphal entry, or whatever you want to call it. It gives us clues as to the nature and the what's the word I'm looking for? The nationality of the future Antichrist. And it defines a major key event of the future tribulation that even Jesus pointed back to. All right, so that sets up everything. We know that Gabriel comes to Daniel and he gives him these 4 verses. So let's read these 4 verses, and then what we're going to do is we're going to dissect these. I know this is already going to be a long lesson, so I'm trying to shortcut some of it. I've already taught it once, and I reset it up to try to teach it a little bit shorter. So let's go into it. Let me quit running my mouth. Let's read through these 4 verses. Daniel chapter 9, starting at verse 24. This is out of the New King James, is the reason that it uses the term weeks. King James and New King James use the term weeks. We'll explain it here shortly and explain what that means. 70 weeks are determined for your people. Remember, he's talking to Daniel. For your people and for your holy city to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the command to restore and build Jerusalem until Messiah the Prince, there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublesome times. And after the 62 weeks, Messiah shall be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince who is to come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. The end of it shall be with a flood. Until the end of the war, desolations are determined. Then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. But in the middle of the week, he shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering. And on the wing of abominations shall be one who makes desolate, even until the consummation, which is determined, is poured out on the desolate. It's only 4 short verses, but that's a lot of words. And it's like, what do they mean? There's so much behind these things. We have to unpack it. So before we actually dissect these verses, I want you to notice, I'm not going to read through the whole thing again, but I want you to notice, if you can see the chart, I want you to notice the timing words. So there's 70 weeks, there's a from and until. Those are timing words. 7 weeks and 62 weeks. Even in troublesome times, and after the 62 weeks, all of these are timing words, right? It talks about a prince who is to come, so future, right? And there's another till the end of the war. Then, meaning after, all right? Confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, but in the middle of the week, there's another until. So all of these are timing words. That's why these verses are so important, is because they lay a time framework for so much of Bible prophecy. So let's get into this dissecting the 70 weeks prophecy. We're just going to take it a verse at a time, and really a piece at a time, a piece of a verse at a time. So let's start off with Daniel chapter 9, verse 24. 70 weeks are determined for your people and for your holy city to finish transgression, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Again, even in one verse, there's so many words. What does it all mean? 70 weeks are determined. Let's just take that. So how long are these verses talking about? They're talking about 70 weeks. But how long is a week? All right? Well, of course, a week is 7 days, right? Well, okay, so if you're in the LSV version, that's the literal standard version, it doesn't use the term weeks. The term weeks comes in with the King James and the New King James. It's a convenience. The New King James kept on using it because so many people were familiar with it in the King James. But what do the words really mean? The literal standard version says 70 periods of 7. So that 7 there is, or periods of 7, is from the Hebrew word shibuya. All right? Actually, I think it's Shabua. It means 7 or sevens. All right? Actually, Shabua means 7. Shabuim means sevens. So in this Shabua, it can mean a week of days or 7 days. It can mean a week of years. It just means 7. In this context, in this case, it's obvious that it's a week of years. That is 7-year periods. In the Hebrew, that term, 70 weeks or 70 periods of 7, it is the term Shavim. Hopefully I've got it pronounced correctly or close to it. Which means Shavuim is that term Shabua. It is the multiple of that. You put the IM ending on it. So that's sevens. Shavim is 70. So to say Shavuim, Shavim is sevens, 70. Or 70 sevens. So how many years is 70 times 7 years? It's 490 years. Well, why didn't they say 490 years? Because Gabriel's doing the talking and we don't get to decide. Okay? So, it is talking about a period of 490 years. That's what 70 weeks are determined. 70 periods of 7 years are determined. What does that mean? It means, the word that's used here for determined means decreed. 490 years are decreed. It is determined. All right, but what does this determined mean, or determined time? Well, let me ask you this. How long is a football game? Well, it's 2.5, 3 hours, something like that. No. A football game is 1 hour of determined time. All right? You can have timeouts, penalties, commercials, whatever, that make it turn out to be 2.5 to 3 hours. But it is 4 15-minute quarters, right? It is 1 hour of determined time. In the same sense, this is 70 weeks or 490 years of determined time. Just like a football game, that doesn't mean they are all together. Well, that's just confusing. No, hold on. We will see as we get through these verses that it's easy to see where the break is, because it's one major break. And we'll be able to see that in the verses, especially since 3 of the verses have already happened. All right, so hold on to that for right now. We know that it's 490 years total of determined time. That there is a time decreed. By whom? By God. Okay? Let's take the next of it. 70 weeks are determined for your people and for your holy city. Who is this talking about? Well, let's start off by who is he talking to? He's talking to Daniel. All right? We know that. But so if he's talking to Daniel, who is it for? For your people, Daniel, and for your holy city. So who is Daniel's people? That's the Jewish people. All right? Does that mean the people from the tribe of Judah? No, the term at this point, from by the time you get here, Jewish meant not only the tribe of Judah, but all of Israel, all of the 12 tribes. And it still means that today. All right? So your people is the Jewish people, the people of Israel. Your holy city, what's the holy city of Israel? It's Jerusalem. All right? So who is it for? It's for the Jewish people and for the city of Jerusalem. Now this one's going to be a little bit longer because we're going to go through all these things. We're going to find out why. For what purpose are these 70 weeks, these 490 years decreed or determined? And it tells us, but we're going to dig into this a little bit more. Not all the way, but at least more than where we are right now. 70 weeks are determined for your people and for your holy city. Why? To finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. What do those things mean? Let's take them one at a time. To finish the transgression. And as I think I said a moment ago, I've already taught through this once and recorded it and realized I wanted to do it again. And one of the things that I discovered, as many times as I've talked about this, as many times, I may have read these verses 1,000 times, at least hundreds, and I never saw the word "the" in this phrase. To finish the transgression, not transgressions. So the next two lines are sins and to make reconciliation for iniquity. Those are plural things. This is singular and specific. The transgression. The word finish here is kala, which means to finish, forbid, to keep or keep back, refrain, restrain, retain, shut up, be stayed, withhold. All right? To finish. That's probably a pretty, out of these words, that's probably the best one to use here. To finish the transgression. Transgression is the word pesha, which means revolt, rebellion, sin, transgression, trespass. In this case, in the Hebrew that is in this verse, it isn't just pesha, it is ha-pesha. If you put a ha in front of it, it becomes the. All right? When you're talking about Yeshua HaMashiach, Yeshua, Jesus, Mashiach is Messiah, HaMashiach, Jesus the Messiah. Ha is the, all right? So in this case it's ha-pesha, which means the transgression. Okay, do some thinking here. What specific transgression is to be finished? There is one. It is the Jewish rejection of the Messiah when he showed up. At that time, national blindness was decreed on the Jewish people, not individuals, but as a whole, until the times of the end, until they get into the time of the tribulation that we'll talk about here. All right? So that's the transgression to be finished, is their rejection of the Messiah. They will finish that. All right? Is it finished yet? No. As a whole, the Jewish people still reject Jesus as the Messiah. What purpose is it? To make an end of sins. To make an end is the word katham, is make an end, mark, seal up, or stop. So to make an end of stop sins, to make an end of sins. The word sins is katath. I hope I'm pronouncing these at least close to right, which means sin or offense. So, have sins ended? No, that hasn't happened yet. To make reconciliation for iniquity. Make reconciliation is the Hebrew word kafar, means to cover, appease, make an atonement, cleanse, forgive, be merciful, pardon, reconcile, or reconciliation for iniquity. The word iniquity here is avon, fault, iniquity, mischief, sin, or depravity. Well, let's think about this. Has there been reconciliation made for iniquity? That one you can argue has happened, that Jesus did that at the cross. So we're going to say that part has happened. Jesus has has reconciled us to the Father. Matter of fact, he's given us the ministry of reconciliation according to Paul. This next one, to bring in everlasting righteousness. Righteousness is the word tzedek. Okay? Matter of fact, Yahweh tzedek, the Lord our righteousness. Tzedek is justice or righteousness. The word everlasting is, the word that is used here is olamim, and it is from the word olam. It means always, eternal, everlasting. All right? Olamim, okay. Olam means always and everything. Olamim means more of the same. All right? The plural of always. All right? So everlasting righteousness is what it's talking about. Well, let's think about it. Has everlasting righteousness been brought in yet? No, don't think it has. Look at the newspaper. No, don't look at the newspaper. That's garbage. There's a lot of the news shows I wouldn't look at either. But if you look at any news shows, you're going to find out that everlasting righteousness is not with us yet. Unfortunately, look in the mirror. Me too. I'm not in that place of everlasting righteousness except through his righteousness. To seal up vision and prophecy. To seal up. So it goes back to that word katham, make an end, mark, seal up, stop. To seal up vision is the word kazon, which means vision, a sight mentally, that is a dream, revelation, or oracle. Then vision and prophecy. The word prophecy here is nabi, and it means prophecy, prophesy, or prophet. Depends on how it's being used in the sentence. So has vision and prophecy been made an end of? Has it been sealed up or ended, stopped? No. Prophecy is still going. Now, in some of the stuff that we talked about in different ways of interpreting prophecy, there will be a lot of churches and a lot of people that say, oh, prophecy was already fulfilled in 70 AD. Or it's effectively all ended now. No, it hasn't. Because the stuff that we're going to be talking about this time has not occurred yet. A lot of it has, but there's pieces of it that we can identify that have not occurred. And this last one, to anoint the most holy. Well, what does that mean? Let's get into the words. To anoint is mashak. It means to anoint, paint, rub with oil, to make holy or to set apart. It is where we get the word Mashiach, Messiah, from. Messiah is a transliteration of the word Mashiach, which comes from this word mashak. All right? To anoint, to pour oil on, to rub oil into. All right? Or to make holy. Now then, the term to anoint the most holy, what is that? It is that phrase, most holy, is the term Kodesh Kodashim. It means the Holy of Holies. So think of the temple, and think of the temple, and behind the veil, behind that is the Holy of Holies. That's what it's talking about, is the Holy of Holies. So out of all these things, which have been completed? To finish transgression? No, that transgression still exists. The blindness of the Jewish people that they have not received and accepted Jesus as Messiah yet, that still exists. To make an end of sins? No, that still exists. To make reconciliation for iniquity? We can say that one's happened. Jesus has paid that price. To bring in everlasting righteousness? Well, Jesus brought in righteousness, but the world is not full of that yet. To seal up vision and prophecy? No, there's still more to be completed. To anoint the most holy. You actually could say that the most holy place in the real temple in heaven was anointed when Jesus poured his blood out there. That's what he did when he ascended. Remember when he in the garden when Mary saw him, and he told Mary, "Don't touch me. I haven't ascended yet to my Father and to your Father." What did he do when he ascended? He poured his blood out in the most holy place to atone for our sins. All right? So you can argue maybe that's been done, but I think there's a future event for that as well. So we're not going to come back to these. This is where we're touching on all these things. Why? Or what is supposed to happen when we can look to this and say, this prophecy has been totally fulfilled. Then we can look to this verse and say, here's all the things that have to happen. Now then, what we're going to do is I'm going to paraphrase this verse, trying to make it understandable to us. I'm going to read the verse first out of New King James and then present my paraphrase. 70 weeks are determined for your people and for your holy city, to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. So, what is my paraphrase? It is a plan of 490 years. That's the 70 weeks. A plan of 490 years is decreed for the Jewish people and for your holy city of Jerusalem to do some things. All right? For the framework that we're laying, those things are not so critical. We will touch on those again when we get into the book of Daniel, but right now we don't. Right now it's the other things that we're really focusing on. So, a plan of 490 years is decreed by God for the Jewish people and for the holy city of Jerusalem. Okay? That do for a paraphrase? Now let's go to the next verse. Verse 25. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the command to restore and build Jerusalem until Messiah the Prince, there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublesome times. All right, just take the first part of this. Know therefore and understand. Is this prophecy, these 4 verses, are they to be understood, or are they to be left as a mystery for us to scratch our heads over and wonder what it means? No, it says, Gabriel is talking to Daniel. He says, know therefore and understand. Well, that just means that only Daniel can understand it. No. It's in the Bible for a reason. Nothing is in the Bible for no purpose at all. God wants us to understand it, especially as we get closer and closer to the times that they're talking about, right? So, know therefore and understand. So, tell yourself, I can understand this prophecy because the Holy Spirit's with me to explain it. Let's go to the next piece. Know therefore and understand that from, timing word, from the going forth of the command to restore and build Jerusalem. We've got a starting point. It is this command to restore and build Jerusalem. What is the starting point? I'm going to say it again because it's on the chart. From the going forth of the command, what command? To restore and build Jerusalem. So which command is the starting point? All right? The Bible presents to us several different commands, and we're going to go through those. We're going to go through 4 different commands here. But we're looking for the one that is the command to restore and build Jerusalem. We have the decree of Cyrus that occurred in 537 BC. That's mentioned in Ezra chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. There was another decree of Darius, or Darius, however you want to pronounce it. Not quite sure of the timing on that. That's mentioned in Ezra chapter 6, verses 1 through 5, verse 8, verse 12. We have another decree of King Artaxerxes in 458 BC, mentioned in mentioned in Ezra chapter 7, verses 11 through 26. The thing is, all three of these decrees, so we're mentioning these decrees because it was decrees for the Jewish people to go back to Jerusalem and to Israel. But it wasn't for the purpose of rebuilding the wall. It was for the purpose of rebuilding the temple. That's what all of these decrees were for. So are those the decree to restore and build Jerusalem? No, they're to restore the temple. Or rebuild the temple because it had been fully destroyed. But then you have the decree of Artaxerxes in 445 BC, and that's mentioned in Nehemiah chapter 2, verses 5 through 8, and verses 17 and 18. This was the decree from King Artaxerxes of Medo-Persia to Nehemiah, who happened to be his cup holder, the one who poured the wine for him. All right? This decree to Nehemiah to go back to Israel, specifically to Jerusalem, and to rebuild the wall, specifically to rebuild the wall. And we know, we're going to talk about it more, but that decree was made on March 14th of 445 BC. And that becomes important to us, and we'll explain that later. Well, how do we know that it was specific, that this command was specifically for the purpose of rebuilding the wall? Because in that verse it says, the street shall be built again, that's talking about the city, and the wall, even in troublesome times. So that verifies that the starting point is the city, not the temple. Make sense? So that's the starting point, is this command by Artaxerxes, Nehemiah, go back, rebuild the wall. Let's go to the next part of this. We have an until. So from that command we just talked about, until Messiah the Prince. So what's the end point? The end point is Messiah the Prince. So what words are used here? Messiah, Mashiach, which means Messiah, anointed one. So Mashiach, the Prince. The word is Nagid. Nagid, all right? Which means commander, captain, chief, governor, leader, noble, prince, or ruler. Can mean king. All right? So Messiah the Prince is Mashiach Nagid. Well, who is the Messiah? Until Messiah the Prince. Who is the Messiah? Yes, we know that. It's Jesus, right? Who is the Messiah? Jesus. Here's the tough question. When did he permit himself to be honored as king and to be worshipped as the Messiah? And we'll talk about this more later. But think about it. There was only one time that he permitted himself to be honored as king and to be worshipped as Messiah. All right, so we have a from, a starting point, until an ending point. Then it tells us how far between them. It says there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. Remember, we said that a week here is a period of 7 years. So we have 7 times 7 years and 62 times 7 years. So it's a mathematical prophecy. Oh, I hate math. Okay, I love math. I'm an engineer, so I enjoy math. We're going to use math for this. Go way back. If you're as old as I am, go way, way back to elementary school, to maybe the 4th, 5th, 6th grade, where we talked about the distributive principle. It means you can group things in different ways with addition and multiplication. All right. So it says that there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The word and, replace that with the word plus. There shall be 7 weeks plus 62 weeks. Put this in terms of math. 7 weeks, 7 times 7, and, or plus, 62 weeks. So 7 times 7 plus 62 times 7. What does that equal? 7 times 7. What is that? That's 49. 62 times 7. What is that? It's 434. Add the two together. What do you get? 483 years. Or you can add the 7 and the 62 together and then multiply all of it times 7. So you get 69. 7 plus 62 is 69 times 7. Is 483 years, the same. Distributive principle. So we sometimes refer to this as the 69 weeks. All right? And if you're looking at the chart, you can see the math that I just did. You can also see where at the bottom of the chart, I've tried to start laying this out for you so you can see it visually. I'm a visual learner. And so there's a total of 490 years, the 70 times 7. But then it talks about this period of 7 weeks, 7 times 7, and 62 times 7. So it totals 483 years. Why does it separate out that first 7 groups of 7? And when I taught this a few weeks ago, the first time I taught through it and recorded it, I had an answer here. And as I was digging in for later lessons, I realized that answer was wrong. So why does it separate out the first period of 7 times 7 years, that is 49 years? The correct answer is, I'm not sure. I don't know. But God does things like that sometimes. If you listen to prophecies, He will sometimes do that. Is there a reason? I am absolutely sure there is a reason. But I'm not seeing it right now. Something probably happened. I can almost assure you, something specific happened in that first 49 years after that command was given. Was it the rebuilding of the city? That happened, but it turns out that the wall was rebuilt within 2 years. So did it take the other 47 years to finish rebuilding the city? I don't know, possibly. I'm not sure what all happened during there. All right, so we have a period of 483 years from that command until Messiah the Prince, until the Messiah shows up, is 483 years. So let's go on. There shall be the 483 years. But then it tells us explicitly, the street shall be built again and the wall, even in troublesome times. So what happens during this time, this whole 483 years? The street shall be built again and the wall, even in troublesome times. Remember, we're talking about Jerusalem. Who rebuilt the walls of Jerusalem? It was the Jewish people under Nehemiah. All right, so if you can see at the bottom of the chart here, I've pointed out that the walls and streets of Jerusalem are rebuilt, and at the end of that 483 year period, we have Messiah the Prince. He shows up. So for verse 25, let's give my paraphrase of that. All right, let's read the verse again. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the command to restore and build Jerusalem Until Messiah the Prince, there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublesome times. My paraphrase. Therefore, know and understand that from point A to point B, there are 483 years total. Now we have to explain what point A and point B is. Point A is the decree for the rebuilding of the walls and the streets of Jerusalem. So from that decree, that's point A. Point B, Messiah the Prince is revealed. All right? Makes sense for the paraphrase? I know this is a horrible place to put a break for the lesson, but I'm trying to keep it from going too awful long. I will put all 3 pieces of this lesson 11. It's a lesson 11A, B, and C. I'll put them all out on the internet or on YouTube at the same time. So come back with us, listen to the next lesson, and I'll pick up right where I left off. So we hope to see you there next time here on Passing the Torch. So long.